Yes, Your Grace Snowfall is finally here, and I've played it. So here is what I've got to share. Did the devs fix the biggest problems from the first game? How does this new blend of pixel art and 3D actually feel? Is the story compelling or just confusing? And how solid is it when it comes to performance and stability? My wife and I spent over 23 hours with the original Yes, Your Grace, and we were both genuinely excited for Snowfall. But things turned out to be a lot more complicated than we expected. Let's break it down. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is Yes, Your Grace Snowfall? It's a direct sequel to the original game, picking up right after the first one ends. You can even transfer some of your past decisions, though honestly only a few of them have any noticeable impact. I'll talk more about that in the narrative section. You're once again playing as King Eric, and the core mechanics remain familiar. As you can see on the game's cover, you also play as Queen Aurelia at a certain point. The game is divided into weeks. Each week, you face a line of petitioners, each asking for help. You will juggle a midterm objective, assign agents across the kingdom and try to keep everything from falling apart. The main new mechanic is prosperity. Your kingdom's wealth now depends on raising prosperity, not just collecting taxes. So it plays like this. Week after week, you talk to citizens, make decisions and slowly inch toward the next story beat, all while trying to balance your goals with your people's happiness. Visually, the game has changed a lot. It now blends 3D environments with pixel art characters. Personally, I think it looks more dynamic than the original, but based on Steam reviews, not everyone agrees with that. Some players prefer the classic style, and I get that, it's a matter of taste. When it comes to sound though, no debate. Snowfall keeps the excellent sound design and music that made the first game so memorable. Now let's dive into specific game aspects. Let's talk about the story, one of the three main pillars of Yes, Your Grace Snowfall, alongside visuals and sound. Many fans of the original, myself included, appreciated its serious, sometimes dark tone, with just the right touch of humor. And while the game was undeniably linear, the story itself was strong enough to keep us hooked. In Snowfall, the developers seem to have doubled down on that linear structure, but not in a good way. At first glance, it looks like you are making more decisions, but in reality, those choices often have even less impact than before. You'll be given an option to accept or decline something, but no matter what you pick, the story just moves forward as if you agreed. The illusion of choice is stronger, but it's still just that, an illusion. And here is the real problem. The story itself isn't as compelling this time. There were moments where I genuinely thought, wait, is this really happening? Not because it was shocking or dramatic, but because it just felt absurd. What I loved about the first game was its mature, grounded storytelling. Snowfall, on the other hand, often leans into tone-deaf or bizarre directions that didn't sit well with me, or with my wife, who played alongside me. I won't spoil anything here, but I can say that we just weren't emotionally invested. Too often, it felt like the game was trying to be dramatic, and ended up being unintentionally ridiculous. In particular, the segments with King's Eric dreams are the weakest part of the story. Honestly, I think adding them was a mistake. As of now, Snowfall has a mixed rating on Steam, sitting at around 65% of positive reviews. And many of the negative ones point to the same issue. The narrative feels shallow, with player choice stripped of consequence. And last but not least, the game ends right in the middle of something, leaving you wondering what happens next and clearly setting up a third part. It feels a bit strange, especially considering the first game had a proper, self-contained ending. By the way, if you played the first Yes, Your Grace, I'd love to hear what you thought about the choices. Did they feel meaningful to you, or more like just flavor text? Drop your take in the comments, I'm curious how other players felt. Let's talk about how Snowfall looks, because visually this game is a big shift from the original. The developers moved away from traditional 2D pixel art into a kind of 2.5D hybrid. It mixes pixel art with 3D environments, dynamic lighting, and even some hand-drawn 2D elements. It's rare, hard to categorize, but let's call it cinematic pixel art. In the trailers and promo screenshots, it looked gorgeous, fresh, and like a real step forward. And after playing it, I'd say, yeah, it mostly delivers. The camera glides smoothly through scenes, lighting adds a lot of atmosphere, and it definitely feels more dynamic than the original. But here's the thing, I wouldn't call it better than the original, it's just different. It's a bold style choice, and personally I like it. It's experimental, it stands out, and I respect that. That said, not everyone agrees. A lot of Steam reviews mention the visuals as a negative. Some players feel the charm of the original pixel art is lost. And I get that too. It's the kind of art direction that will divide people. Still, whether you love it or not, it's something you rarely see, and that alone makes it worth a closer look. And if you are finding this review useful so far, consider giving it a like. It really helps more people find the video. Now let's talk about the technical side of Snowfall, which unfortunately is where the game struggles the most. Just check the Steam dev blog. They have released 10 patches in the first 5 days. That's not normal, that's damage control. It tells you everything you need to know. The game launched with a huge number of bugs, and many of them are serious. Some break progress entirely, forcing you to reload or even restart the game. I haven't seen a patch cadence like this in years. This is the main reason behind the game's mixed rating on Steam. And yet, what's honestly kind of heartwarming, a lot of players are still leaving positive reviews, even while mentioning the bugs, just to support the developers. That says something about the goodwill they built with the first game. The devs themselves are clearly working hard. They have been releasing 2 patches a day since launch. That's impressive, but it also raises a tough question. How did it launch in this state after both a public demo and closed playtests? I don't have a good answer. Maybe it was rushed, maybe they hit unexpected tech issues. But whatever the reason, the result is the same. The game is currently in a very rough state, and if you're thinking of buying it, this is the biggest thing to consider. Now, on the plus side, performance is actually great. In my experience and based on player reviews, the game runs very smoothly. No crashes, no frame drops. And that's not a given. Mixing 2D sprites with 3D environments in Unity can easily create performance problems. But here they nailed it. It's just a shame the stability didn't match the frame rate. Let's quickly talk about pricing. Yes, Your Grey Snowfall is $25 with no launch discount. That's pretty unusual for an indie release these days. Most studios offer at least 5–10% off during the first week or two. That said, the devs did include a generous bundle. If you already own the first game, you can grab both these together with a 25% discount. That's a nice move, especially for returning players. Now, $25 is still a premium price for an indie game, no way around that. But to be fair, the original Yes Your Grace also launched at this price, and it was about 5–6 hours long. Snowfall is significantly longer and more content-rich, so from a value standpoint, the price feels justified, even if it still feels high to many players. Personally, I think they've priced it on the edge of what's reasonable, and the lack of launch discount definitely raises expectations. And here we are, at the end. I have told you everything I think matters about Yes Your Grey Snowfall, so now it's time to share my personal verdict, one that my wife and I both agree on. If you think about playing it, my advice is wait. Wait until the devs stop releasing 2 patches a day and the game becomes stable. Right now, the real issue is technical. The bugs are hard to ignore, and while the story isn't terrible, it's just not as strong or engaging as in the first game. But on the other hand, Snowfall absolutely nails the presentation. The visuals are striking, the music and sound design are excellent, and the world of Gravno still feels familiar, like coming back to a kingdom you once ruled. So if you enjoyed the first game, want to support the devs, or can overlook the rough edges, go for it. Yes Your Grey Snowfall is a solid sequel, A bit different, yes, but for fans of the original there's still something special here. It's not perfect, but it's still worth your time. That's it for this review. I hope you enjoyed it. We put it together as a team. My wife actually played the game more than I did this time, so credit where it's due. If you liked Yes Your Grace, you might also be interested in the games we are working on. The List or Failed State, a political simulator about running a fragile country with a totalitarian past. It was heavily inspired by Yes Your Grace, so there is a good chance you will like it. And Ministry of Order, a dystopian narrative puzzle game about matching babies to parents using simplified genetics, all set in a fictional 1920s bureaucracy. Like Papers, Please, but weirder. You will find both links in the description. If you like what we are making or just want to support the channel, wishlist the games on Steam, it helps a lot. If you enjoy honest indie dev takes like this, consider subscribing to our channel. I cover stories behind game launches, development struggles, and what it's like making indie games ourselves. Thanks for watching and see you next time.